Well, hello everybody, BugEater64 here, and we're getting ready to fly this beautiful old girl, the Latecoere L631. Now this aircraft had a lifetime of about 10 years of service from 1945 to 1955, and at one time held the record for the longest commercial flight in a piston aircraft of over 3,000, almost 3,000 miles. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take off and fly from Honolulu, Hawaii to San Francisco, California, which is a distance of almost 2,100 miles, and we're going to do it non-stop, of course, because there's nothing in between. Anyway, so let's get inside. At one point, we'll be showing you how to transfer fuel from the auxiliary tanks into the main wing tanks. I tried this flight once before, didn't know how to do that, and we got within about 800 miles and starved the engines and couldn't keep going. So today's flight we're going to do it, and I'm going to show you how I found how to do that. It may not be the right way, but it's one way that seems to work. So let's get in the cockpit. Let's get started. Flight starts at 04:30 in the morning, so it's going to be dark. But let's get going and let's get this girl flying. See you inside. Okay, so here we are at Honolulu International Airport at Water Runway 04. Yep, Honolulu has runways designated in the waterways. So that's where we're sitting right now, and we're going to see about getting the aircraft started and be on our way. City of Honolulu in front of us. So right now she's sitting here. We are cold and dark. So let's get things started. Throwing on a master battery. Gonna turn off these fuel pumps up here. Okay, let's go ahead and get the APU started. And the APU generators. Get all our magnetos set fully on. Come on. Okay, now we're going to get the mixture to full rich, and we're just going to crack the prop RPM. The reason for that is we're just floating around on the water, and if these are constant speed props, so what can I tell you? This bird will move while in the water. Okay, let's go ahead before we start the engines and get Garmin going and set. Now the Garmin 530 that's in here does not actually do us any good other than eye candy as far as being able to make a flight plan, show the GPS line for that flight plan, and then we can adjust our heading accordingly. The autopilot in this aircraft will maintain altitude and a heading, so if we need to make adjustments we can, but there's a process involved in that too. So right now we've got our on that center pedestal that we turn to very quickly. We hang on a minute, let's go ahead and start the engines. And hard to see, but the prop is turning, but it's not firing off, so I have forgotten something. Let's see what I forgot. But we do have the flaps and our floats are down, so we're good there. Let's look. Everything looks like it's supposed to. Our magnetos are on. That's these right up here. Let's see. Oh yeah, fuel pumps. That's always helpful. And we'll talk a little bit more about this part of the aircraft a little bit later after we get flying. Alright, so let's try this again. Outboard engine. And with that bit of fire coming out of the bottom there, we have a good engine start. And we're going to go through this 6 different times. Hard to believe. 6 engines on this aircraft. When it was initially built, it was the largest amphibious aircraft in the world until the Spruce Goose that Howard Hughes built. Now, I will say this aircraft had a service life of 10 years. Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose flew how many times? Once. And never flew again. He made the one flight, proved the concept for that aircraft, but then never flew it again, and it was never mass produced. This aircraft, there were a number of them built. Unfortunately, there are no aircraft today that survived. So we've got good engines started. Controls are free and clear. Gonna be a beautiful day for our flight. We got some scattered clouds, which should make the sunrise absolutely beautiful. Okay. So with that, once the engines are started, we can go ahead. That's the pedestal I was telling you about, and you can see at the top there are 2 switches. Those for the flaps and for our floats that are on the wings, and they will retract when we flip that switch. Okay, so we've got good engines. We no longer need power turned on to the starters since we're not trying to start the engines anymore. And we'll go ahead and shut down the APU. Turn off the APU generators. We've got all 6 generators for the engines. Our other generators turned on, so we just, have plenty of electricity to the aircraft. So we are in good shape. It does not take long to get this girl ready to fly, as long as you follow the steps. So let's give the engines power. We have 6 throttles. Now, one of the difficulties I'm having is that all the indicators are listed in French, because this is a French-built aircraft. Everything's in liters instead of pounds, so that took a little figuring for fuel. and which is easy. I mean, it's a liter equals 2.2 pounds. So we are really heavy right now. And it's going to take a little bit to get up to speed, which we need about 140 knots. That's our landing speed, so we need between 120 and 140 to also get off the water. So let's, about there, here we go. Pull back slightly on the yoke and we are airborne. Now this is a very big aircraft. She does not climb quickly. The average climb is probably about 500 to 800 is a very comfortable climb rate for this aircraft. Cruising speed will be about 160 to 180 knots. You see me there pulling up the flaps and then the floats, and you must pull up the flaps before you pull up the outer wing floats, because there is floats will not come up unless you pull the flaps up. It's a design in it's actually designed in the system as a safety thing. So we are in the air, and she handles like a big heavy aircraft. She responds relatively slowly, but I'm having a lot of fun flying her. I think if you like historical aircraft, this is a superb, and I mean superb, aircraft to be added to your hangar in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And you can't beat the price. I mean, I'm fortunate in that I went ahead and I got the deluxe version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this particular aircraft for me was only $10, $9.99. And the way this aircraft is detailed, its systems, the interior, she looks old, but at the same time beautiful. And this is my first real flight in the aircraft. Like I said, I tried to do this flight a couple days ago, was not able to complete it because of fuel starvation in the engine, so I had to land it in the ocean and end the flight. But today is the first time I'm really going to try and get this flight done and use what I think is a good way of transferring fuel from the auxiliary tanks to the main tanks. And when the time comes, we'll be showing you that. So it might not be the exact or proper procedure for doing it, but it's one I found that I think works. And we're going to find out today. So we are going to be climbing out to altitude of about 8,500 feet to 9,000 feet. We'll see what the clouds look like. And the reason I started so early in the morning is because it's a very long flight. And basically, I'm going to be taking off in this early morning light, and I'm going to be landing in darkness in San Francisco. Plus, taking off at this time of day is just beautiful. You got all the city lights, you've got the sun rising with the clouds, just gorgeous. You can certainly feel the wind, and it's fairly windy day around here in the Hawaiian Islands, and you can feel her being buffeted just a bit. We're hand flying the aircraft right now, have not turned on the autopilot, one because it's fun, and two, I want to get closer to my altitude because this and get her on heading before I turn on the autopilot. You have to pretty much pick your heading, have your aircraft set to that heading, then turn on the heading hold, and I just figure it'd be easier getting to altitude, and then both altitude and heading, and then turn on the system. And it looks like we've got blue sky above the clouds, so yep, it's going to be a nice day. Okay, so we are well on getting things started, and this flight will take between 14 and 15 hours. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting ready to level her off. And here we go. Let's go ahead and see about transferring some of this fuel from the center line of tanks. The bottom line is our oil tanks. The center line is auxiliary tanks, and the top ones, which you can show have emptied some, are the mains. So we are going to, this is the manual pump handle, and this is the electric fuel transfer handle. And then that big handle, if you just use the main, then it would, you'd use that to transfer the fuel. We turn on the pumps after we've turned on those handles, the manual and the electric. Once I've turned on those fuel pumps, the upper tank should start to fill, if I've done it right, and it looks like we have. The auxiliary tanks are emptying, the main tanks are filling. So this will ensure that we have enough gas to make this flight. Very simple. I don't know if it's the exact proper procedure, but it works for me, I think. We will find out. And you can see that the main tanks are filling. And once they're filled, then I'll go back and I'll turn off the fuel pumps. The autopilot is working just as it should. It's keeping our altitude and our heading. And the fuel tanks are filling nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the fuel pumps and let gravity do its thing. So, it appears to have worked. We will see how it goes as far as the flight. And we'll put the clipboard away. Okay, we are arriving. Now, once I started the approach in, I picked up the Salinas Airport, and I wanted to switch frequencies. So I was able to switch frequencies on the Garmin, but it never changed the channel. It would change my frequency like it's supposed to, but I was locked into Salinas ATIS, and that was it. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, I have the aircraft, autopilot is off. But I cannot get rid of this. So I don't know if that's a glitch or what. I'm going to have to do some more reading. I usually find out things after the fact. But it is not letting me change that frequency, so I can't turn off the ATIS. So as you can see, there's a big black patch with no lights in it. That is the bay. The hard part is I have no depth of field as to when I may be touching down, so that's going to be interesting. Okay, so floats are coming down, flaps coming down. Just now entering over the bay, so I'll be turning to my right. And continue my descent. Yeah, that ATIS call really got to be a nuisance, but I could not get rid of it. Anyway, let's concentrate on trying to land. Okay, no, don't do this. I know it's been a long flight, but don't let me down now. See that green light flashing in front of us, green and white? That's pretty much where I want to head towards. That keeps me just right of the end of the runway and kind of gives me a marker to look for, so that I know I'm safely in the bay. These landing lights, when you're getting low to the water, you still can't see anything at night. They do not have a very strong illumination. Watching the lights, I know I'm getting close. Won't be long now. light's just to my 11 o'clock. It's still a little high. Swing around, come back, and get a little lower. I'm still probably at 600 to 800 feet. Like I said, trying to figure this out. Everything's in as far as descent and so on, it's all in meters. And with that black water, ugh. But the aircraft itself is not difficult to handle. You just have to remember that she's a big, heavy aircraft and she doesn't respond like a nimble fighter. She takes her time, but she will respond. So you just have to stay ahead of her. And like with this one, we're going to just take our time. We're going to inch our way down so that we hit the water relatively flat and I don't make a submarine out of her, because that would be bad. Our passengers probably wouldn't appreciate that. San Francisco Bay is frigid water, extremely cold. Okay, let's give this a shot again. Okay. Picked up my flashing light ahead of us. Yeah, girl. Level off a bit. Ease it down. Throttle back and let her float into the bay. First touch.
Vertical speed 848. Side slip 77.9.
That indicator about landing speed and so on, it is completely wrong because it doesn't work landing into swells and waves
Vertical speed
in the ocean.
848. Side slip 77.9.
Okay. Oh, well, we're down and safe. And it wasn't that bad a landing considering you couldn't see the runway. Alright, so we're in good shape here. So our refueling system worked just like it was supposed to in this flight, so that's great. Welcome to San Francisco and enjoy your stay. She's a beautiful bird, fun to fly. Let's get the APU started. And that'll give us power, so. We'll get towed to our docking area. Turn off the generators and just use our APU generators. Well, there you have it. We did the flight. Everything turned out well. The flight went extremely well. Didn't have any real problem except for the landing because, as you could see, the landing lights on this bird, they don't show squat. I'm telling you, they're not very bright at all, and I couldn't see much of anything outside the aircraft when I was coming down to land. I could not see the water. Usually landing lights in a water aircraft will show you, as you get close to the water, it'll show up so you can actually get some kind of gauge between your aircraft and hitting that hard surface. Water, by contrary to popular belief, although it's wet, when you're landing on it, it's hard. And we found it. Now, we found it okay. The landing was fine. And you the interesting thing is the information mod that I have on for aircraft landing that gives me my landing rate and so on, it doesn't work in water very well because every time this girl hit a wave, it gave me a new landing rating. So it was a good way of indicating what the wind was like and so on when we touched down. But the landing went well. We landed fine. We finished the flight completed. We were at San Francisco, just off the ends of the runways there in the water. So everything went well. All I can say is I certainly hope you enjoyed the flight. It was a long, long flight. The flight took almost 15 hours to get there. This bird is not fast. And so we probably averaged about between 160 and we got as high as 187 miles per hour. Ooh, we were smoking, even with the 6 engines going. So with that being said, I sure hope you enjoyed it. Glad to have you along. Look forward to the next time we get to fly. The flights won't be as long, I can promise you that. Because 15 hours in this aircraft, that's a long flight. Must be why they equip it with beds. Anyway, with that being said, until next time, this is Bug Eater 64. And please remember, as always, safe flying.